You know what I miss about old school Formula One? Like from the mid 1980s. I mean, I'm sure it happened before the 1980s, but I call the glory years of Formula One racing like from 1985 to 2005. And what I especially like about the old school Formula One is the variety of different teams that were allowed to participate. Nowadays we have 10 teams. That's all that are allowed. Andretti tried to get in to be an 11th. They said no. But back in 80s, 90s, for instance, 1990, there were 22 different Formula One teams trying to compete to get into the race. Now, all of them didn't race in the race. You had to pre-qualify back in those days. So it was just the qualify to be able to qualify. So if you were a constructor, if you were one of these, fledgling teams that built a car or built two cars, I just imagine the millions of dollars that they would spend just to try to get into the show. It kind of reminds me of IndyCar racing, or the Indianapolis 500, I'll say, where people would just one-off try to put together a team and try to get a car in the show. Well, that's how it was with every race in Formula One back in those days. So that's why you'd have like 20 different teams, a dozen different engines, as long as it fit within the formula of size of displacement that was allowed at the time. And you also had so much more variety in car design. And that's what I like about making old school F1 cars, is because they're also different. Even within the same year, the cars could look so different compared, one to another, of all these different teams. And here they would get sponsorships. They would spend the money to develop the car, to test the car. This is back in the days when there was no testing limits. You could test and bring whatever you can to try to qualify for a race. And back then there was only like 15, 16 races in a season, but still it was much more of the Wild West, much more of a risk financially and physically to be involved in Formula One back in the day. And I miss those days. I mean, I'm glad that for the safety aspect, the cars are much safer now than they used to be. But it just seemed like more of a raw sport. I mean, they used to identify the difference between a game and a sport is when death was possible. So that's why you'd have hunting for sport. And a game is something that nobody could really get hurt with or, die in. But they called motorsports a motorsport because you can die. You can kill yourself financially and physically in participating. And that just seems like it's more, for that reason, it was more exciting back in the day. So anyway, that was my rant for today. I'll show you what I've been working on. Let me just zoom in here a little bit. So as far as my Minardi, I finished with the suspension pieces. I don't know if you can see them in the cars or in between the wheels. So this model is just about done. I have to do a couple little touch-up on the paint of the base, and then this one's completed. I can't even imagine how many hours I spent on this one car because this is the first Minardi that I made. So, so you have to make the buck right from the beginning, that little frame that I showed you yesterday, all the way to duplicating it, to pouring it in the resin gypsum. Oh, I have to make a video on how I duplicate the wax and then pour up the wax mold in resin so that I can carve it. But many, many hours made to make this first car. And what I decided to do is from now on, instead of putting a car number on, I would just grab a random number, whatever number was shown on the picture or image I was looking at, and put it on the car. But from now on, like on this one, you can see on the side wings, there is a number on it. It's number 02, because is this number 02 or 01? I don't have my glasses on so I can't see. But I'm going to start putting production numbers as the car numbers. So whatever number car that I'm producing, that's how I'm going to identify how early of a car this is versus a current one. So this is my this is the Leighton house, first Leighton house I'm gonna make. And so this one is very close to being done. Paint's almost done. I'm ready to start gluing this together onto the base. One more thing I have to do on the wheels of this one is I have to define the wheel rims on the inside of those tires. And then on my Ferrari, 1985 Ferrari, I think this is the F185 they call it. Almost done with the paint. I got to finish with my Scuderia shields. I got my silver for the aluminum roll bar. Just do some paint touch up that I accidentally dragged paint brushes across. And then this will be ready for me to, I have to put the seat belts in on this as well. This one's getting close to being done as well. I also got to do the wheels on that one. But did I do the numbers on this one? Yep, number 02. This is the second one of these that I'm making. So from now on, that's how I'm going to be able to tell which car is which. All right, so I think, and I'll show you what else I'm doing as far as in the design area. Come over here. So here is my RSR Porsche that I've been working on making the frame like I did with this one yesterday. This one you can see is all built up as far as I covered the whole frame in wax so that now I can start. I'm not ready to start carving yet. I still have to define the shape a little bit more in wax before I start carving. Like I said, I want to do as little dragging of a carver across, but today I'm going to work on still filling up this frame on this RSR. So that is it for today. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow for day number 6. Let's go back now over here to the painting area. So what I do is, instead of paintbrushes, I have toothpicks. And these toothpicks I've shaped. One is flat, like a flat paintbrush, this one. And one I shape to be like a, let's see if I can focus more on this. Let's see right here. So one is flat. Can you see it? I gotta get my glasses on. Nope. Is that focused yet? One is flat. This one's flat, if you can see. There you go. And this one's pointy. So I'll take the pointy one because I need to get inside those little wheels. And I take my acrylic paint and I just take the top off so I could use that as my little dipping well. And I'll come in with the wheel like so. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill the whole wheel up with yellow. And it's not ultimately going to be yellow, but I'm going to layer in the paint. So I just make a big circle. And what's going to happen is when this layer dries, I'll go ahead and put another layer of flat black over it, and that will define the rim. So it'll be like a dot within a dot. So I go all the way up to the edge, the inside of the wheel, and just drag the paint. And here's where you have to hold your breath, because it's so easy to slip and to let, especially with a toothpick, because it's wood, it catches. And it's so easy to go up over the top of the tire. So all yellow on the inside. And you'll see that I'm trying to make, let me see if I got a picture here. So if you look in the picture, the side view, you can see there's a yellow ring that goes around the outside of the wheel. So I'm going to duplicate that with this paint. And so I'm going to go through all these wheels and do the same thing on the inside. Oh my goodness. Trying to stay still. I understand if you have to leave, but if you want to hang out with me while I do this, you can't. This is something you can't do after coffee, because you need a super steady hand. And it's funny, I made these cars like I have to show you the Jordan that I made in a bit, but I made it like 2016. And it took so much out of me to make this car that I was like, I can't do this again. I'm too old for this. And back then, boy, I was 40 something. And now I'm in my late 50s and I'm doing it again. And so I guess it's like whatever story you tell yourself, that's what you believe. Because my story was, I don't have the steady hands and the patience to keep making little cars like that. But you do if you say you do. So don't limit your own beliefs. Tell yourself a different story. And it's like the more you do it, the easier it gets. Or I'd say not easier, but you learn different ways to deal with different challenges. Like sometimes I'll be in bed and I'll just pop awake thinking of, oh, I should try this, because the last time I did this or that, I messed up. And so I stopped doing it that way. And then I think of a new way to try it. And that's what makes it fun. It's like someday, I hope to be able to sell these. And as you can imagine, this isn't something that you could do in volume with as many hours that it takes. But I don't know, I think maybe with the resurgence of the popularity of Formula One, that somewhere around the world I'll have somebody that wants to have one or more of these. And hopefully they'll want ones that I've already made and not asking me to make a custom one. Because that would be a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, I'd do it. But it's a lot nicer to sell work that's already done than to promise somebody some work. Okay, so that's all 4 of those wheels. So that'll do it for today. This video's already getting long enough, but I'm just going to continue doing the same thing on the Ferrari wheels, except on the Ferrari wheels, they're not like carbon fiber. They're actual alloys back in 1985. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it with silver and gold paint. So tomorrow I'll show you how that turns out.